Hey everybody, welcome back. Coach William, my good friend and my other coach in the Savvy Inspector is hanging out with me again today, and we're talking about automating the recruiting process. And we're going to teach this whole automation strategy at the workshop in November. That's November 19th through the 21st of 2015. William, welcome, and I'll just say to you, is success a straight line?
Sure it is. It takes a sharp left for a while, takes a sharp right for a while. No, it's not a straight line.
Just when you think you've got it down, we zigzag.
Exactly.
Let's talk about two of your lead inspectors, how long they've been with you. You know, they didn't get out of the business to compete against you. It's just, but it was a setback, wasn't it? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, two guys that I highly depended on. One was my lead inspector, and the guy would have been second in command, if you will, doing the majority of my inspections. I didn't lose them both at the same time, but close enough together that we're still trying to recover from that. And so one guy got a job at a company called Isola, which has it's a union deal, incredible benefits, insurance and all that good stuff. And he just had his first child. So I said he had new baby syndrome, which we all kind of get that. So I totally backed him up 100%. I even gave him a little bonus as he left. And someday he may even come back on a part-time basis, both of the guys. The other fellow, same deal, only he has 5 children. Young guy too. I told him he was trying to be the father of our country. But he same deal. He got an offer through for Ford Motor Company, which is a big plant here in Louisville, Kentucky, and couldn't turn that down. So again, wished him the best. Now he still is committed to helping out as need be on weekends or late evenings. So both those guys are still there on a part-time basis, maybe if I need them. So yeah, it was kind of devastating, but luckily we had already got the process for recruiting automated, and I had a good candidate in line. I had a new guy that I would just bring on. You know, early on, when I say early on, a few years back, I had learned that it's always smart to try to be one man rich. Now that might not work for everybody, but I've tried to make that work for our firm because it's paid off for me. This is a perfect example of if I hadn't been that one-man rich, man, I really would have been hurting. So that's been one of those strategies that I've kind of used for that. But then,
before we go any further, a lot of non-coaching clients won't know what you mean when you say one-man rich. So let's talk about that for a second so everybody understands it.
The golden rule from Mr. Ken Compton here would be that when you get about 80% full, you need to be hiring. And I think that's a really, really good rule of thumb. But because I had struggled with, finding a new guy quick enough, in our area you have to be licensed, and now they just started a daggone thing where you got to be thumbprinted, and it's I think it's up to 26-week turnaround to get the results back. I mean, that just devastates you trying to get somebody on board. So with that thought in mind, I always, I just decided that I would try to keep another man on. And the trick of that is trying to find somebody that doesn't have to have 2 inspections a day every day. Somebody that has that flexibility. So fortunately, I've been able to do that, and I keep them busy in other ways, even if it's in the office. So just kind of having them on hand and ready to go. So that's what I mean by being one-man rich. I'm really not at that 80% capacity, but that's where I want to be, and I'm being prepared for it.
Right, and that's a very good strategy. You need to be 80% full consistently. When that happens, go ahead and get you another hire. And William's been very successful with that. So, William, when your 2 guys left, what happened? You had to pick up the tool bag and get back out and keep recruiting.
Yeah, very little. The inspecting that I'm even doing right now is more polishing for the new guys coming on, if you will. But because of that, I have an IT guy, Will, who you know very well, helps me out. He's a utility guy. I mean, everything from inspections to tearing computers apart. So I've got several projects because I've had to have him in the field now to fill that spot. So there's a lot of other office admin type stuff that's getting put on the back burner. So I'm stepping out, taking some of those inspections just so that I can get his head back in the game where it belongs. For the IT type stuff. So again, your path to success takes some curves, and this is just part of it. But through the recruiting, automated recruiting that we have in place, heck, I've got 4 resumes sitting here ready for me to call right now.
That's right. Now, William, let's go back in the beginning. I think when you first started, it wasn't your goal to be a multi-inspector firm owner. Your goal was to get a few inspections a month.
Yeah, shoot, I was flipping homes for a living, and the market had gotten kind of slow, so I was looking for, something else to do to fill in the spot between, because I was financially strapped, and I could not purchase another home to flip until one would sell, kind of like standing at the roulette table, if you will. So I took a second look at the inspections at that point and decided, okay, great, I'll inspect, between flipping houses. But within the first year, I seen the promise that was there, and by the end of the second year, through hooking up with the savvy inspector, we just grown with leaps and bounds, and today we're 9 inspectors strong, plus the office staff and admin, so marketing rep, the whole deal. So continues to. We open up into another market now, so the potential for growth is pretty endless at this point.
So not all inspectors start off wanting to be a multi-inspector firm, but then what happens is, as you've come through our system and you came into our mastermind groups and you've learned other things about running the business, you've decided maybe it's way more productive for you not to do home inspections and bring business in. And I promise you, it's a lot cooler.
Yeah, again, the conception there for me was to never be sitting in this chair having this conversation. I was just going to be an inspector, and I think a lot of folks come into it with that mindset. But I'll tell you, the big turning point for us after the first workshop that we attended, we had already implemented a few things prior to going to the workshop, just from being a member and getting the stuff off the site, and so we knew that those things worked. And when we came back from the workshop, just so overwhelmed with all of the incredible strategies, we were able to pick and choose what we wanted to do. But we knew. And when I say we, my wife Sherry, who is owns 51% of the company now. She ask her; she'll tell you I'm the boss because she says I am. But no, we're great partners in this, and she, we're having that conversation on the way back, and we both it was just clear to us that we were going to have to make a hire. So at the following year now, stepping ahead, we're sitting on the beach at Fort Myers, and I'm booking inspections and keeping this guy busy. So that was just our first big moment of, this is the way this is done. And so that from that point on, we just have continued to grow. And prior to right now going through this little crunch, heck, I inspect very, very little. Only when I want to. Only if I feel like I need to for a training or something like that.
More and more of our coaching clients have learned their position is way more valuable bringing business in rather than doing the business, because they can get other home inspectors through the recruiting, all the things we're going to talk about in a minute. They can get others in, and they're more valuable where they are, and that is leading the organization.
Well, too, as a one-man shop, it's really tough if you don't get these systems in place that we're talking about. You're on that roller coaster. We've all talked about it before. You market, you get crazy busy. You're so busy you can't market, so then your numbers fall, and then here you go, just you get that going. So these strategies, implementing these things on a consistent basis, is just key to to keeping yourself busy, even as a one-man shop.
Now you and and Coach Sherry and Beth, Coach Beth, and some others, we transformed 19 willing one-man shops into multi-inspector firms within 6 months. That was quite the experience.
It was, but man, what a thrill to be able to look back now and watch their success. I mean, they've continued to succeed. So, that's some of the gratitude that we get back for doing what we do, and I really enjoy that part of coaching.
And many of them didn't believe they could do it, did they?
No, but they're doing it now, and now that it's automated, they're just kissing the frogs, weeding out the bad ones, moving on.
And what happens is the internet really wasn't a very prominent tool when I started Southern Home Inspection Services, and so we recruited the old-fashioned way. We got out there and hit the pavement and asked people and interviewed, and I say you have to kiss a ton of frogs to get a prince, and that's still true. So by using the internet, leveraging all the tools we have now on the internet, we've been able to kiss way less frogs. And one of the lessons that I think most of our coaching clients have learned, and if you're a Savvy Inspector coaching member, regardless of what level, you have access to us to talk to us at certain times each month, one-on-one. Okay, and so what happens is we have conveyed the message to all of our clients: never stop recruiting. Never stop recruiting, even if you don't have a job open, because you can always put them in your talent bank. And William, you got 4 resumes on your desk now, and you got 9 guys now.
That's right. And, I was just amazed to see that happen. It took a minute for that to get out there. And slowly I see here's a hit, there's a hit. And now it's, getting more and more consistent all the time. People are picking that up off of the internet. One other just sidebar on this, and one of the other great things about being a Savvy member, one of our coaches that's in one of our mastermind groups had interviewed a fella. He lives in Nashville, Tennessee, and was about to make that hire, was seriously considering hiring him when the inspector actually ended up moving back to my area. His fiance lived here. I guess now fiance, that's part of the reason why he moved back. I guess he proposed and she accepted, but you had to live in my area, I guess. So anyway, he ends up back in our area, and John, who's the member I'm talking about, just buzzed me and said, hey, this guy was a great candidate. I'd like to have him, but he's moving back up there. Maybe somebody you'd want to look into, and he'll be my first one to hit the road here running real quick. So
that was a great thing. So John shared the referral, you hired him, and it's the rest is good history.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. So one of the things that we've done is we've learned how to write job ads for the job boards who attract talented home inspectors. We have another client in Franklin, Tennessee, the Nashville area, who hired someone from California and someone from Georgia, because they saw the ads that we had placed and they said, this is a great career opportunity, and they moved. Our client didn't pay a thing for them to move. These guys moved on their own. Now, that's a pretty big experience in it, William. I mean, usually you think about getting people in your own neighborhood, and that's not true today.
Yeah, I mean, that happened more than once. And yeah, it goes back to it's not what you say, it's how you say it in these ads, which I think is very, very important. And not only that, but the follow-up afterwards, when you choose somebody that you want to interview, take that next step. And then those that you don't, like these 4 that I've got on my plate here, part of that system is how do I keep them on my plate? I don't want to lose contact with them. At some point, I want to hire one of them, so they need to be at arm's length away. And how do we do that?
Hey, Coach William, I'm going to tell you a little story on him. He was a fairly early adopter for the automated recruiting process because he ran out of family to hire.
You had to say that, didn't you? Sooner or later, you've only got so many family members, right?
One of the rules that we teach when we do recruiting, hiring, and training, one of the things is never hire your friends or family. And so William and I have both violated that rule. It's still a good rule, but we have both violated that. 2 of our 3 boys work here at the Savvy Inspectors project managers as well. So we violated that rule badly.
Yeah, now I did just have a grandchild, so I'm working on it, right? Looking at the future.
Exactly, a future inspector. So the thing that I think that's really powerful about this automated recruiting, we've extended our reach countrywide. So you can get talented people to come to work in your home inspection company from way beyond your own neighborhood, state, or community. And that's been pretty good. I think the other thing that's been really good, we've leveraged the tools on the internet. And William, you have a story. There was a quality candidate in your community trying to choose between you and another firm or 2 in your market. Talk to us about what happened there.
Yeah, this will actually be the second guy that's, I'm just waiting for him to take the exam here. He, for whatever reason, wanted to become a home inspector, but has no ambitions to be in business for himself. So he was shopping some of the local competitors. And right now, folks, I mean, we're so busy, even the worst of us are hiring. So anyway, he's searching the area to find out who's available and what's going on. So he compares us to one of my competitors, and he just shared the story with me. He said, the online reputation, the videos, even in the field videos that he caught on us. I mean, this guy researched us a lot, which is a good thing, and was able to make his choice just solely based off of our internet presence.
That's fantastic. And again, of course, if you know Coach William and the Savvy Inspector, we do their online marketing. Their team does a great job of producing these awesome videos in the field that are extremely helpful, both home maintenance videos that would appeal to home buyers and others. And then our team gets those out all over the internet so he can get business directly from the public. But here was a latent benefit. An inspector or a potential inspector is trying to make a choice between him and someone else who's a quality firm in their market, and really sees what Certainty's done and likes their style and opts for them over someone else. So, I mean, that is a coup right there.
Yeah, well, I think with the videos that W Services provides, that marketing that's out there is just so professionally done that it really brings you up, another level above your competitors. And that's exactly what happened here. I mean, most of his stuff was homemade, if you will. where my stuff was very, very professional. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. I used to know more about it, William, but now they don't let me get involved in it as much. That's straight up, they say.
Yeah, but no, it's very, very good stuff and very powerful.
It does work well. And so at the workshop, and listen, you don't have to be a Savvy coaching member to come to the workshop. The workshop is open for all home inspectors. And there's tickets are flying out the door for it. And when you purchase a ticket, just click on the video below, the link on the below this video, and learn all about it. We got early bird special. Some of those videos, we're talking about reputation videos that we've done for certain home inspections for the last year and a half. There'll be a link to it, and what you get, that kind of thing. So do that. But we're going to teach you at the workshop exactly how to automate the recruiting process. We're going to get into the hiring process and the things you do before you hire. We're going to give you all the documents. We're going to give you step by step. And on a video, we'll have placed on a website. That'll be only for our participants, and you can download all the information from there. So you don't have to worry about toting a bunch of stuff back home. We'll have it for you on the website. You can download it when you're ready to download it. And it'll go step by step. And it'll have a checklist, and the checklist will say, before you start recruiting, you got to have all this in place, blah, blah, blah. And then the same way on hiring, all this in place. And then we'll even touch a little bit on how we automated the training process, which I think is fabulous. Because, William, my experience has been, and I've hired a ton of home inspectors and done tons of home inspections. My experience is that they get the inspecting thing way easier than the report writing thing.
Yeah, that's and depending on the software you're using, can make a big difference in that as well. But yes, I think anybody, my experience has been that they pick up fairly quickly on the technical type stuff. But when it comes to data entry, using that software, and I'll even say the people skills, is just so important. That you've got to have a good training process in place, a training process that you are able to have milestones involved in, so that that they hit a certain point at a certain time. Because you're doing evaluations on these guys, so that I can let them know at any given moment, you're either cutting the mustard or you're not. So I was wondering if we're going to get into the training aspect of it. I think it's very important.
And William, you have hired a lot of home inspectors, and so have I. And when we didn't automate the training, we said the same dad blame thing over and over to each one of them. And the beauty of this automation and doing what we're going to teach you at the workshop is you work once and you benefit over and over.
Right. I just sent out our 4th folder right now. We have, talking about automating it. We've actually got folders put together with good training material in those. So not only are the guys on site learning that end of it, but at home they're able to pop open these folders, and there's everything from PowerPoints, videos, old reports, just a whole gamut of things that keep them engaged and learning all the time. And I'm not there on site. They're not getting paid. It's on their time. And that it's consistent. Every one of those guys is hearing the same thing.
And I think that's very important, because if you're a one-man shop and you're consistent day in and day out, you're not civil, you're consistent. The real estate agents get to know that, and they like that, and that's why they call you back. But when you're a multi-inspector firm and you have 8, 9, 12 inspectors, the fact of the matter is top producers are reluctant to reach into that grab bag and pull somebody out they don't know. And one of the keys to making that happen is consistency amongst all of your team. So if there's not consistency, you're going to struggle with that.
Yeah, and we monitor that consistently, just so that I know that I haven't got one guy saying that this is a maintenance item and somebody else is saying that it's a defect. We've got to be the same page on that. So just like you said, that agent knows if they call my company, they're getting that same Big Mac, if you will, that they got when they call any McDonald's.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And let's just use that as an example. You can have a Big Mac prepared here in Jasper, Georgia, or one in Salem, Indiana. And there are different employees, different franchisees, so different owners. Everything about them is different except one thing: their system is consistent. So you get the same quality product each and every time. And that's one of the keys to a multi-inspector firm's big success.
Yes, I agree, and I really drill that home with our inspectors. When we have our staff meetings, that's always one of the things that's on the plate, and it falls under our quality assurance, if you will, that we just making sure that those reports all look the same no matter who writes it.
Now, I will tell you, what we're not going to teach you at the workshop about this is all of the million details associated with recruiting, hiring, and training, because that is 3 days easily in and of itself, and we teach that here in the workshop in Jasper. But what we are going to do is we're going to teach you how to automate each one of those pieces. In other words, how to develop a system that makes your life way easier. Okay, so I used a couple of emails. You feel like you're a chicken with its head cut off running around. Our goal is to eliminate that at the workshop. Our goal is to help you get these systems in place so that you're proactive and not reactive. And William, I've just been on a vacation for 3 weeks. I spent some time with you and Miss Sherry, Beth and I did in your place. Yeah, I'm not on the phone talking to our team.
Same here. That's one of the keys to having the luxury of being a business owner and not an inspector.
That's right. I mean, these systems allow you to get your life back. We have coaching clients that come into the program and they leave at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. They come home, do 2-3 inspections. They come home, they type up reports till midnight, 1 o'clock. They get up and do the same thing over and over again. Now, who really signed up for that?
Right. That's not why you became an inspector. But that is true with a lot of folks, and we can help you get past that.
Right. We might even sneak in a little bit of information on how to produce the report on site so that you can truly get your life back. And I will tell you, we teach that at the Savvy Inspector. We teach our coaching clients that every day because you, the business owner, might be willing to do that kind of thing for a while, but employees won't.
That's right. Yeah, you cannot pay somebody enough to give up their life, and that's what happens a lot of times. And it's usually you as the inspector owner, if you will, because you haven't gotten it right yet. So being able to, because a lot of people, when we first brought this out, were like, you complete it on site. Believe me, we do it every day, sometimes 3, sometimes 4 times a day, every one of my inspectors doing it on site, because I told them, part of my online marketing is that you're going to make an average of $30 an hour. Well, if you're spending 3 or 4 hours on site and then you're going home and spending another 3 or 4 hours on getting this report together, you're not making the money that you could be making per hour. So it's critical, not just for them to have a life back, but for me as the owner to be able to promise you that kind of money. Here's the system that you've got to use to make that happen. You can't just, you just be wasting your whole life away. You'd better off go to McDonald's and get a job.
Right. One of the advantages I had, I think, William, is not being a home inspector, and when I started the firm, was I had no preconceived notions about that. And when we did focus groups with real estate agents and said, what do you like about the home inspectors in the market? What do you dislike? One of the things they hated was waiting on the report. So from day one, we produced the reports on site, printed them, went over with them, everything right there from day one. And when I sold the firm, we'd done over 35,000 home inspections. I sold the firm to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, who I brought through the ranks. Over 35,000 home inspections we had done. Over 99% of them were produced on site. There's the rare occasion. You pull up from the house from hell, you look at that thing, and you're like, there ain't no chance I'm going to get this done here today. So I just talked with the home buyer, and I'd say, listen, normally we produce a report on site. Today, I feel like we're going to have a few additional things that we want to talk about. So I would rather talk you through the issues here. Let me produce the report this afternoon for you and get it to you this evening. Would that work for you? Nobody's ever said no. But our MO was it. Our employees loved it. They did their inspections 2 a day. We never let them do 3 a day, 2 a day. And then what happens, they went to the ball game, Little League or the Braves or whatever, their family and friends. They had a real life. And that's one of the ways we had very long longevity with our employees. I mean, we had some employees that were with us from year 2 till the year I sold the business.
Yeah, that's awesome. But yes, there is an exception to every rule, and that we make that clear as well to the inspectors. Sometimes it may be that you can't, we've gotten into some homes where obviously we're not going to do this in 2.5 hours or 3 hours, so we may have to come back to wrap things up. Rare exception, but it does happen. But the ultimate goal is to have that completed on site. There's one other exception to that rule that I would share just through experiences. If you're doing a late evening, that third inspection, a lot of times that real estate agent isn't real thrilled when their client receives that report at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and then the real estate agent, guess what? She's trying to watch the 11 o'clock news, and instead she's on the phone with the client reviewing a report. So there's a circumstance where you might wait until the morning before you actually send that out. That sounds like experience.
When William said that, I was kind of shocked, but we didn't do it. We did 9 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, nothing else. And we made everybody conform to that because William does a late one. I mean, I would have never thought about that. I mean, that's totally legitimate.
Right.
And explain it to the customer. You'll have the report in your email box in the morning. Is a good thing. William, I want to say one other thing that's slightly off topic on this, but I think it's really important for home inspectors to know this. At Southern Home Inspection Services, we basically demanded the client show up from the beginning of the inspection. And I'll tell you, we did it for 2 reasons, and it was hugely successful for us. The thing I wanted to do is get you on that driveway and talk to you about what an inspection is and isn't, what we're going to be doing today and how we're going to be doing it. I wanted you to follow me around and ask me your questions, because when you left that inspection, you were a raving fan of not only Ken, but Southern Home Inspection Services. You saw how professional we were, and you liked what we got, and getting referrals from them and getting them to use us over and over was a breeze. I will tell you that I sold Southern Home in 2010 to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. They still own it and are still going strong. They're actually hiring right now using our system. And what happened was we were having a cold brew on a Sunday over at a local pub. And my sister-in-law looked over there and said, "Congratulations, you just got a request." Okay, you know how long it's been since I've done a home inspection personally? I just got a request. Okay, and that started from having that client there and letting them see the job we do. The second thing is, when I'm in the garage with Mrs. Jones and those boxes are stacked up all around, and I say to her, "Miss Jones, you know what happens? Those boxes are covering that wall. And when you come back to do your walkthrough before you close, and those boxes are gone, you might see a damaged drywall, or there might be an electrical outlet there that we couldn't get to. But remember, I shared with you right here that we couldn't get to those things and the reason why." She said, "No, I'm good on that, Ken." Okay, so what happens is you get less callbacks because you have a chance to talk through these issues. The other thing is, because they saw how great you did and how thorough you were, they say, "You know, that guy did a thorough job. This was just something he couldn't see." So basically demand that your clients come in. I know a lot of inspectors don't like that because they feel like it takes more time, but the prior client marketing and the reduction in callbacks is huge, especially when you run a very large multi-inspector firm like I did.
Yeah, I can tell you right now that the majority of our callbacks come from clients who weren't there and occupied homes. I mean, it's inevitable. So yeah, we always we don't demand that they be there, but we always stress how important it is that they do show up. You become you get that conversation going. You become a friend. You made the comment years ago, it's hard to sue a friend. So you become a resource and a friend to them. So it's somebody they feel like they're comfortable picking up the phone and calling. Or if they're not there on site, you're just another technician that had to do a job. You were just another hurdle for them to jump through to get in the house. So
that's right.
So I really can't say enough about that. Very seldom do we get callbacks from folks that were there. The other downside about that is being there is one thing. Being a part of the inspection with you is another. Because we have a ton of clients that, yeah, we got them to show up, but guess what? They're sitting at the kitchen table, whatever, talking to mom and dad or whatever throughout 90% of the home inspection, and that's not the idea. The idea is to be there, have that rapport going. And we do a ton of them for clients out of state and for clients that just can't be there. So we do have some other strategies that we use, if you will, to help overcome that as well.
And we'll be talking about those at the workshop. We're going to be talking about how to automate the dispute resolution process, what you should do before, during, and after, so that we can minimize these claims and callbacks. But I just want to talk on prior client marketing just a minute more. I had a couple that moved in from New York. They were first-time home buyers. And I bet, William, over the years I did inspections, I bet I did 15 of their family members.
Yeah, sweet.
And one last little story. I was coming out of the Honey Baked Ham store in Canton, Georgia, and somebody said, "Hey, there's Ken, our home inspector." And I'm thinking, I hope they say what their name was. I've only seen 6 million people since then, so they loved it. But it was Old Home Week. Once they started describing the home, I knew exactly what it was. I have that kind of crazy memory. You want to play Trivial Pursuit with me? I'm chock full of useless knowledge. So they were able to say it, and it was Old Home Week, and they were thrilled to see me. I was thrilled to see them. But it started those personal relationships. I would come home from doing a couple inspections, and I would say to Beth, "Man, I met some of the most interesting people today," and I would tell her about it, and she's like, "How in the heck do you know all this stuff?" And I'm like, "Because I talk to my clients. I'm building them into personal friends. So they request the firm and request me and that kind of thing." And I taught that strategy to our inspectors too, but our team would just laugh. They just like, "Who is that guy?"
But you just touched on a really good thing, and it's being a multi-inspector firm. Having that client there, having a driveway speech, if you will. It's our CYA speech, whatever you want to call it. As soon as that client shows up, my inspectors know we have a folder set up just for that purpose. They grab that folder. It's full of all the contents that we want them to cover. And those questions to get that rapport going are in that. It's kind of a checklist for the inspector. One of the first questions we're going to ask is, have you ever been through an inspection before? I care less whether it's a yes or no, but that gives us that we ask the first question and then just opens a door to get that rapport going, get that conversation going. So, and one other thing I would say is that, that whole speech, if you will, almost everything that comes out of the inspector's mouth is about that client, giving that client the opportunity to start gabbing about themselves, because people love to talk about themselves. They don't want to hear about the inspector and all his qualifications. They would rather talk about themselves. The more you let them talk about themselves, the more friendly things will become.
That's true. And we'll teach a lot of these strategies. We have a lot more on the workshop agenda than what we've gone over in this dozen or so videos. Again, it's all taught by home inspection professionals, people who are marketers of home inspection services like William, and we've got Brian Murphy, we've got Preston Sandlin, myself, and some others on the stage that will absolutely impart tremendous information for you. You'll go home ready to roll. I really hope when they leave, William, you know what they'll say is, my gosh, I get these systems implemented before 1/1 of 2016. Look how much better my firm will be. Look how much better my life will be. And that's really what we're trying to get at. Get your life back.
Yeah, yeah. Get your phone to ring. Get your life
back. Yeah. Your phone right now in the summertime, that's ringing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's not now I'm worried about. We're making moves right now for, as we come into the kids returning to school and the slower months coming on. So
I call that digging the well before you're thirsty.
That's right.
I mean, you're digging a well now. You're not thirsty now, but you're digging a well now. So then when you won't be thirsty because you're digging the well now.
That's right. That's right.